Thank you. Enough. Hello, I'm Linzi, and welcome to the first in a series of debates on Channel 31. The first one is Romance Dead, is brought to you by Bent TV. And to many of us out there in Gayland, a romantic gesture is trade, opening the door for us as we walk through the door to well, service them at any nightclub around town. To others, well, chocolates, flowers, lipstick, kisses on the mirrors as the loved one departs in the morning, saying a little prayer as they do their hair, and getting down on their knees to, well, take you there. It goes on and on. What do you think out there about romance? Is it dead? Is it alive? Well, where is it? Does it exist in the 90s? We know it didn't exist in the 70s. It was the threesome in the 80s. It was the open relationship. And in the 90s, well, we're all too busy, aren't we?
It's a real gender thing in the 90s, isn't it, really?
Kaye, it is. So I would like to introduce our panels now. For romance, we have Adam Richard, who is so famous I actually have to read this. He is an award-winning stand-up comedian. Adam Richard is fresh from his critically acclaimed comedy festival show, Tragedy. Richard, I'm not going to read any more. How are you this evening?
Fabby dabby.
Fabby dabby. Next we have Michael Michelle, who is a drag extraordinaire, who has a lot to do with certain awards that are coming up in Melbourne shortly. Welcome.
Thank you.
Julie Peters, who is famous in her own right. She is into politics, she's into all sorts, and she has also bought what we could term a farm, but is a block of land or paddock?
A paddock, yeah.
We wish you every success. Now, the evil team who believes that there is no such thing as a box of chocolates, a red rose, or a lipstick on the mirror, Kaye Sera. Well, if you don't know who Kaye is, you came down in the last shower. How are you, Kaye?
I'm very well, Linzi. How lovely to meet you this evening.
Yes. And likewise.
You're slightly higher than you normally are at Bent
Yes,
TV.
I don't think I'm this high when I'm standing up, Kaye. It's fabulous. And sorry, Stephen Dawson, who wrote Big Dicks on Stage. No, I did get that one out being a lesbian. How did I do?
That was pretty good, actually.
Pretty good. And a very exciting guest down the end of the panel is Mistress Avaline, who is the bondage queen of Melbourne. How are you this evening?
I'm fine, thank you, Linzi.
That's great. Adam, we'll start with you.
Start with me. Ready?
We're ready.
Now, how can romance be dead? That's what I want to know. How can it possibly be dead? I mean, sure, you get more publicity out of, casual sex, getting sprung in the dunnies in Sunset Boulevard, for instance. You know when I heard about that? When I heard about George Michael, being sprung for doing a lewd act in the public toilets, the first thing that went through my mind was, what kind of lewd act? What was he doing? Singing old Wham songs or something? I don't know. It's bizarre. But yeah, being, casual sex is one thing, but I think romance is still alive, and I think we've got some very good proof, some incredibly good proof. There's a worldwide phenomenon going on right now that we can all look at and see. I'll just say these words for you. You're here, there's nothing I fear, and I know that my heart will go on.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Do I need to say any more? You've all got that song stuck in your head now, haven't you? Oh, good Lord. And it's a gorgeous song. It's, it's a melodic song that gets stuck in your head. The woman who sings it isn't so crash hot. But the love theme from Titanic, everyone knows it, everyone loves it. Not everyone loves Celine Dion, but she does sell millions of albums every year, and they're all songs about love. Romantic love songs. Celine Dion is the queen of the romantic love song. She sells millions and millions of copies of CDs. There must be millions of people who love love songs. Either that or maybe she's got a very, terribly rich and stupid stalker. I don't know. But yeah, no, people love songs. And the movie that the song came from, the Titanic, it's the most successful movie ever. Billions of dollars, over $1 billion have been spent on people going to see this movie. And that's a lot of money to spend on going to see a movie about a boat with a hole in it. I'm sorry, anyone that's seen that movie, and is there anyone left who hasn't seen Titanic yet?
I haven't.
Oh, good on you. Who's been going then?
Not seen Titanic.
But that's $1 billion, and everyone who's seen it knows it's not a movie about a boat, it's a movie about people in love. You know, sure, you know, Kate Winslet gets her norks out, they spit, they have sex in the back of a car. Sounds more like porkies at sea. But, you know, it's a love story, and I'm a romantic. I'm still a romantic. I still believe there's a man out there who wants to sweep me off my feet and make me fall in love with him.
Well,
and if one person believes it, then the dream can still stay true.
Adam, that has touched me very, very much. Now, Kaye, it's over to you for a more, probably a bit of twisted view of it all.
Well, I'm astounded that you actually managed to talk for 2 minutes non-stop there.
I could have gone on.
Professionals here. I'm so pleased that you mentioned the Titanic movie because, I mean, I'm convinced, Linzi, that romance is dead after seeing the Titanic. I mean, it's a couple of prepubescents running around on a sinking ship, isn't it? What could be romantic about that? Now, if we're talking movies, and I think we should at this point of time, consider the film Now Voyager. A very sexy movie. Does anyone know it? Now Voyager, where Bette Davis actually smokes a cigarette through a veil. Smoking. Smoking doesn't happen the way it used to happen, does it really? Now, it's a whole pack of office workers standing out on the corner having a quick puff in their lunch break. Really, the romantic days of smoking when they smoked through the veil. So, Titanic, if the Titanic is an example, then romance most certainly is dead. But I would, Linzi, if I might just take a moment of your time here.
You can, Kaye.
I would like to consider some of the great cultural institutions of our age. We've done movies. Well, actually, we haven't done movies. We would, because I brought a little bag of tricks there. I couldn't help myself.
Kaye, I don't know if
But
props
are we
were
allowed
allowed.
are we allowed to show these on... The front's pretty tame.
Oh,
Everybody, this is porn film. Now, romance is dead. If anybody's ever watched one of these movies, there's not a string of romance in it anywhere. I mean, they meet, they say hello, and before you know it, they're exchanging lollipops. You know, but I would like to consider literature for a little while. I did a little bit of research on this.
That's good to hear.
I'm a great fan of the romantic novel, Adam.
You like Fabio?
Well, I've never read that one. Fabio is a very good example of why romance should be dead. I mean, you know...
He sells margarine.
The gender thing is all very well, but this man is not only having a gender crisis, he's got a very bad suntan at the same time. I think it's a sin. Speaking of sinners, this book is called The Sinners. It's a romantic novel, and it's a wonderful novel. I would like to read a piece from this novel, but I'm not going to because I'm sure you all know what it sounds like. Oh, what does that mean, that bell?
That means you're getting a bit
30
of a wind
seconds.
up.
I'll never finish. But I just want to say, I just want to say that
Make your point
this
immediately.
is 1956 and it's truly romantic. Would you agree there, Stephen?
Yes,
Have
I
a look
would.
at that quickly. And if you were to compare that to some modern literature of today, here's a magazine, a gay magazine, and there's some personals here. Naughty but nice, cum slut needed. Interested in amateur videos, seeks discreet, healthy, generous men to fulfil my desires.
Kaye, you have
don't
made an exquisite point. You're getting all wound up
think
there,
it's
sweetie. It's all right.
romantic.
Kaye, it's okay. Kaye, it's fine, it's fine. Michael, Michelle, now, how can you answer any of that?
Kaye. Oh, really? Kaye, now listen, you've got to get your definition right, don't you? Romance is a prevailing sense of wonder that is between the two people, you know, when they're not in love, but it's happening, you know. So we set the scene. We've got the lovely lounge room, we've got the open fire, the beautiful red oak cask wine, we've got the right music, we've got the oil burner going, we have the doorbell going, go to the door, come in. We sit down and the whole night just evolves. And during the night, we get a little bit more inebriated and different things start to happen. And if that's not romantic, Kaye, what is? That's what romance is. Romance is getting down to the finer things in life. And I've actually got a few things here that I'd just like to bring up because romance, I'd like to break romance down if I've got time. R is for romance, of course, but it's also for the ring. The ring on the phone. That sets your heart a-racing. And, of course, there's so many kinds of ring. There's the friendship ring, the engagement ring, the wedding ring, the eternity ring, all the cock ring. All of them, they're all there. OK, then O, of course, is for the obsession that you feel when you feel the need to make that call or send those flowers. And M is for the man, of course, that you need in your life. What more can I say? Without the man, there's not much chance of romance, is there, Kaye? No, see, Now Voyager... Was she alone when she was smoking that cigarette in Now Voyager?
Oh, she was with a very special man of her choice from the voyage itself, through the veil, the cigarette.
Yes, I know, but wasn't romantic being alone, was it, Kaye?
Well, it's the triple filter thing, really.
But anyway, look, you've got to have a man in your in your life for romance. Otherwise, those personal. I'm sorry, man.
Unless, of course, you're lesbian, in which case that's my next best bet to a nightmare. Do you know what I mean?
Otherwise, you need that personal piece of vibrating equipment, and that's not very romantic. And then, of course, we go for the. Did I do that? Well, I did that one. A is for the affection that you feel for that special person, and the adrenaline, of course, that also flows through your body. Speaking of the adrenaline that flows through your body, my boyfriend is 96, and the other day I got him some Viagra. It was brilliant, and it really started to work. And he looked at me and said, "I don't know whether it was the Viagra or rigor mortis, but it seems to be working." But anyway, N is for nighttime, which is the best time for romance, and C is for the codependency.
And you've got about 1 second to get the E.
And E is for ecstasy, enemas, and every day is a day for romance.
Fantastic.
Romance is still alive!
Michael. Stephen Dawson, that's over to you. What
Interesting
can you
point.
say?
I think, firstly, I'll have to address Adam on what he was saying. I am quite touched that he actually mentioned 1,500 people going down on a ship. If I wanted to do that sort of thing, I'd spend half an hour in the toilets at the Horden at Mardi Gras. And myself involved, of course. I think romance is dead because it always depends on geography. It depends where you live in the city, what you're close to. Being a boy out in the suburbs, I don't see much romance. I think romance died about 5 minutes after I came, the first time I met my boyfriend. And then you just actually, so we'll say romance is dead. It's not exactly quite dead, but it's pretty much laying cold on the slab at the moment, or waiting for the coroner to make the call. I think, Mike Michelle, you're saying that actually people coming in and being romantic is the ring on the door and the beautiful music coming in. You don't say whether money changes hand.
Well, that can be a romantic situation.
That's
Some
romantic too.
people are
It sounds like love to me.
Money
but
can
I
be
don't know if
involved
that's
in
actually
romance.
romance.
That's okay.
Okay. That's all I have to say. I think it's actually, I've been looking for love for many, many years.
But love and romance aren't the same thing.
Usually I have to pay $10 at the door for it. And I'm more or less kissing a piece of wood or a bit of vinyl. But I suppose that is love in a way. Some would say that's romance. I don't consider it romantic. I think if you have to pay money for it, it's a pretty sad indictment on this society.
Yeah, but look, when you go to places like that you're talking about, I think that you're talking about kissing vinyl and chewing on wood, you're looking for the romance. That's the first step that you take towards romance. Part of the romantic, the whole episode is taking that step and paying the $10 to...
But you're never going to find it out in the suburbs, and that's my beef, that I'm being out in
romance
Craigieburn, for God's sakes. I mean, you're not going to find much love out there, and I've looked a lot. I've been down on my knees crying because I can't find romance out there.
Just crying?
Yes.
Oh, right.
Leap pad's optional most times. And it's not there. It's never there. It's actually, you have to come into the city to find that, and the boys are actually in the city, they're not looking for love either. They're looking for a one-night stand very quick, 5 minutes if I can do it, and then the next, please.
Maybe.
That's it.
Well, what can we say? So far we've ascertained that romance, well, basically could or could not be dead. Nobody's really come up with anything that has made me sort of have to take control as yet, which disappoints me greatly, as you can imagine. We'll be back after this very short break with more about romance. Is it dead? Is it alive? We'll have a summation for the Romance is Still Alive team from Julie Peters, and we'll also have a summation, sorry about that, for the Against team with Mistress Avaline. Dead. So far we have heard from Adam, Michael Michelle, Kaye, Sera, the bitter twisted one who doesn't believe that the Titanic is a romantic movie, ho-hum, and Stephen Dawson, who also believes that romance is well and truly dead because there's nothing happening in Craigieburn. Well, the arguments presented before us so far. We're going to surmise now, starting with Julie Peters, who has just recently bought a paddock and is turning it into a farm. How romantic is that, Julie? Over to you.
It is so romantic. But our poor demented fools. Romance is not dead. Romance, some aspects of romance are outmoded. They've evolved, they've changed. Classical romance may be dead, but in classical romance, classical romances where the knight errant goes after, is in love with Guinevere and then doesn't do anything because she doesn't want to upset her purity. Classical romance, you get nothing. Forget it. That's dead. The next type of romance which is dead is, I've forgotten, is the forbidden love, dire consequences romance. And that's where, and Romeo and Juliet is the best example of that. In Romeo and Juliet, there's two people desperately in love, and what do? But the love is forbidden, and so what happens is they move on and they die. At the end, in that type of romance, everybody dies in the end, and that's gone too. Then there's a Hollywood type of romance. In Hollywood romance, there's happy endings, but the happy endings are bizarre, really, because they're totally devoid of reality. And just when you're trying to learn how to have a happy romantic life, the movie ends. Because what the process is in a Hollywood movie is that they fall in love, they might have a bit of sex, but then some malevolent force stops them getting together and keeps them apart for the rest of the movie, and they don't get back together again for the last 2 or 3 minutes. And then you go, oh, what do I do now? I mean, who ends up washing the dishes? Who ends up doing all those things around the house? And you go, well, I don't know really. I mean, and so that sort of ends up with us doing things like moving on to the next stage. Well, all I know about is the romantic bit where you're trying to get the person, and then I don't know what to do. It's like, how do I go on? And so we have to find our own ways of doing this. I've lost the page.
That's all right, Julie. You're doing really well. Actually, you've torn my heart apart a bit. I feel as though the next time, if I ever fall in love, I'm bound to die. So I'm starting to swing more to that
side. You can be romantic in
I'll just summarise. It's up to us to invent this new romance, the post-Hollywood romance, where the girl gets the girl, or boy gets the boy, whatever. And you're not punished. You have great sex, and you can wear any costume you like. You can live together, and you look forward to every new day. You guide, inspire, teach each other, you cherish, love, and are loved, and you live happily ever after.
That's enough. I'm talking myself, Julie. Mistress Avaline, we've been waiting with bated breath to hear from you a different angle.
Of course, romance is dead, and thank God it is. It was boring, as it was Julie just said. It was all the things that we didn't want. And
but so it's chocolate too.
Chocolate. You go buy your own chocolate. You don't need someone else. Be independent and get your own chocolate and indulge in it. Romance is dead because when you look at the great things of meeting people, where do we meet people today? The clubs are so noisy you can't have an intimate conversation. You're too busy yelling and screaming over the music. Mardi Gras, the great gay gathering, 7,000 people sweating up and down and bouncing. No waltzing, no two-step, nothing there. It's all dead. Where do people often spend a lot of their time trying to meet people? On the internet. That is the great meeting place nowadays. How romantic. Two people sitting thousands of kilometres away from each other, typing to each other, usually single-handedly, and not even meeting each other until sort of like a year has passed. That is not romantic. We have to get in touch with losing all those ideas of the happiness ever after and all the flowers and the chocolates. Go out and search, be realistic with what we're really searching for. We don't want the flowers and all the rest. The flowers die and wither. You don't want the chocolates, you just put on extra weight. What you want is the person, you want the sex, you want to have the fun. So that's what we're searching for. Forget looking for the romance in the wrong places. Just go out and have your fun, enjoyment. I haven't had romance in my life for years, and I'm quite glad of it. My life revolves around the gothic scene. My midnight rendezvous is not for romantic and things. It's because that's the time that I'm getting up. I'm a creature of the darkness, and quite happy to be so. You don't sort of like get together for the quiet whispering in the ear is not heard over the yells of whips and pains. No, I'm quite glad that romance is no longer allowed and gone. And let it die, let it get buried, and let's get on to the fun things in life.
Well, thank you, Mistress Avaline. Now, panel, this is where it all begins, because so far as the adjudicator, I am not convinced that romance is either dead or alive. So, for the remaining time that we have that is live to air, that is allowed to us very graciously by Channel 31, go for it. I want to be convinced that either romance is dead or alive. Kaye.
Oh my goodness, really?
You immediately
dead.
You get as much as you want. I want to hear it.
Linzi, look,
they've obviously they've lost their way. They're
Yeah.
totally lost their way.
sad.
It is
Sad creatures.
You've got to work out what your definition of
I
romance
think we're under
is.
attack.
Romance can be in a sling with your legs up here and up here, and electrical appliances. It doesn't matter.
I used to sell those electrical appliances.
What have you seen? I'm going to a workshop. Wish I was going to Sydney for Leather Club, but when they come down here, have you seen some of the things you can do with electrical? But look, that's what I'm
suggestions.
I'm sure you can. We'll talk after
Okay,
this. all right?
electric appliances, what can you say?
Oh, I haven't moved past the toaster. I don't know what you're talking about.
I must know the
What on
toaster.
earth are you talking about?
Okay, you better stick around for our conversation later and you might find romance.
Yes.
Romance is everywhere. It's all around us, just everywhere you look.
and it's fun.
Everywhere. On the tram. You see someone and you look at them and think,
listened to
you
John
gorgeous
Paul Young
creature,
far
aren't you
too
the
many
most
times.
amazing thing I've ever seen.
I've listened to John Paul Young far too many times. Love is in the
John
air.
Paul Young.
Love is in the air.
It is though.
It is, it's all
All I need is the air that you breathe in to love you.
Yes.
Oh,
Can
beautiful.
I just
I
ask,
think that's
if
beautiful.
people aren't falling in love and being romantic, then why is Mad About You still on television? People watch Mad About You. They love Helen Hunt. I think she looks like a
We're
piss
all
dispenser.
romancing
but
each
hey.
other. Why are the personal columns overflowing?
Because they're looking for romance.
They're looking
because
for
it's out there.
Oh, then.
Some people just
I've
don't know how
read
to
those
find
columns.
it,
That's
all.
not about
Sorry, but I
romance.
always confuse lovers in the air with the smell of ammonia.
I haven't tried that, Brad.
It's really good for you.
Is it?
Yes, yes.
Romance or love?
You don't get zits from it, unlike
right.
some cheap brands of perfume.
Well,
Big white blotches, but hey.
There's cheap romance too, like, you know,
very cheap
I'm
romance.
not saying that bondage and discipline is cheap, but it's another type of romance. There's all different types of romance. There's men and men, there's men and women, there's women and women, there's men and women, there's drag queens.
No.
Then where do you
Drag-
find these people?
Not
And do you have the
in
phone
You go
numbers?
searching, you go on the journey, you go on the journey and you look for it. And
on
you
the
might
internet.
think
I
that
can't
you
spend
found
the
it.
weeks cruising trams and trains looking for people.
No, I mean
want
the
it
journey of
there
life.
now.
The journey of life.
In Craigieburn. In Craigieburn there is love.
Excuse me,
No.
I want to show back for 1 moment, please. Kaye is sitting here looking very distressed about what you people are saying.
Thank you so much, Madam
And she was the
Speaker.
only one to bring props. So we owe her another 10 seconds at least.
I'm not
Point of order.
No, look, I think that
biased.
romance is dead. I mean, the economic rationalists have got it by the short and curlies and they're strangling it. Take Valentine's Day, for example. I mean, what price romance? 1 day of the year to be romantic. Romance is dead. The only chocolates you can get are cheap ones in the $2 shop.
Yes, but Valentine's just for those people who need to be reminded that romance is still alive.
No, I don't buy it. I'm sorry.
It's all, I mean,
All
it's all a
that
facade. I mean, the
capitalism.
cheap chocolates. I mean, you look at our set. I mean, you've got these.
That's your problem. You buy cheap
flowers.
These look
chocolates.
like cheap flowers, or dead Triffids.
Triffids. We actually travelled to the old Rank Studios for these. So,
These flowers, Linzi, are a perfect
beautiful,
example
yes.
of romance in action. These were actually from a South American These were from a South American rainforest, and they dry so beautifully that romance lasts forever.
They're beautiful. Look at those.
Mistress Avaline, what can you say?
They may dry, but that means they also burn quickly as well.
Yes, but in fire, there's passion and
also
passion and
mean-spirited.
romance all go together. Don't
Fire,
they?
there's pain.
But pain is romantic as well if you enjoy it,
Of course.
isn't it?
It is indeed.
Romance is all over
Haven't
the
you ever
place.
heard the phrase, I love you to death?
It's absurd.
See, this is what disturbs
They're
me.
sitting here holding a piece of papier-mâché talking about romance.
So what's disturbing me?
That's a very poor example of art.
I need to say something. At this point, every time you people have talked about romance, death has been at the head. Well, this concerns me somewhat.
Dying from a broken heart.
But that's
Which
part
is
of
horrible.
romance.
I mean, that's part of it.
No,
Anyway,
But in
Like
Shakespearean
Whitney Houston
time,
always
to die.
did.
But in Shakespearean time, to die meant to orgasm.
Yeah.
That's a metaphor. You see.
it's a metaphor.
Because just when you have the orgasm,
But look
it's
at what
like
happened
dying.
to
It's
these
just-
people.
Look, it's like Whitney Houston said, the ride with you was worth the fall.
Adam, you keep focusing
Oh,
on these
please.
Celine Dion,
Oh.
Whitney Houstons. If you bring
can't
up
change
Mariah
my
Carey, I may have to kill
Yes.
myself.
Hazel Dean said, search and looking for love. Now, of course romance is dead. I'm not, look, I don't want to drag into my bag of tricks.
She cheated.
I did stumble upon this. This is a lovely album, everybody. It's called The Golden Girls, and it has the likes of Doris Day, Dinah Washington, and Ella Fitzgerald. Great romantics, every last one of them. What do we have today? Look at this. Cher. I mean, a strumped-up harlot in a G-string or something. Really? And even she admits that romance is dead. She says, if I could turn back time.
So to enjoy more romance.
Look, my heart will go on.
You're proving.
Oh, we've done Touch me in the morning. Romance is very
romantic.
dead.
So romantic.
Excuse me, if I may add, after touch me in the morning, she says, then just walk away. So we're...
It's the end of a romance.
But you've got to go to work
eventually.
eventually. You've got to go to work eventually. You touch me in the morning, then walk away and go to work, come back.
Come back.
You
You
still need
miss
to
nice
convince me more.
We need to convince you more.
Yeah.
How can we convince you?
Okay, well, there's no time to convince me anymore, I'm afraid. This is the end of the program.
Classifieds out.
I'm sorry.
We haven't punched each other
Come back
yet.
for episode 2.
Episode 2. We'd like to thank you for watching our great debate. Is romance dead, or is it alive, or where's it really heading? As I said earlier, whether romance is chocolates, whether it's a rose, whether it's lipstick on the mirror in the morning, or whether it is that really hunky person that you've met 3 minutes earlier at a club, opening the door and saying, just step this way. Whichever way it is, well, here we go. If we can just get a round of applause to see who really did win. This team here. Yeah. And romance is definitely dead.
Don't throw your tickets at us.
Our audience has decided romance is definitely
They're going
dead.
down with
We'd
the
like
ship.
To thank you and good night.
It's just like the scene in Titanic. We're all going to drown.
After that, that's it.